Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. And as you can see, the second half of 3.6 banners has just been officially announced. And before we get started with the video, everything I'm about to discuss right now is all intended for meta and for those who are concerned about saving their premium gems. If you are summoning purely on the character's aesthetics on the banner, then by all means, that's the #1 choice always. You should be summoning for the characters that you like. And don't forget to hit that like button as well as subscribe to the channel for more of this type of content. Your boy will be posting a lot more, so make sure you guys also have that notification bell on whenever I upload stuff on time, so you guys won't miss anything. And now, let's return to our daily schedule program. Here are the current rate up characters. So yes, it's one of those where I again will be using Twitter as the format for this video, because most of these characters I don't have built. Obviously Kaveh is a new character. Candace I don't have her built either. Fischl I do have her built, but at least like if 2 out of the 3 characters I have built, then I would have showcased them, but if not, then it's all good. So speaking of 4 stars, we're going to be starting off with them first, then we'll go transition to the 5 stars. Alright, let's start with the 4 stars. We're gonna go from top to bottom. Let's do this. So Fischl, we all know Fischl. She's still what I would argue one of the best 4 stars in the game, at least top 5, because she's just pretty much insane in any electro reaction team-based comps or any electro team-based comps in general. Literally, almost every single electro team features Fischl. That's why she's that good. She has constant off-field electro application with her Oz, and her elemental burst resummons Oz, also does AoE electro damage. Overall, she's just such a great off-field electro applicator and does a lot of electro sub DPS. And Constellations also does make her even better, which is, you know, a plus, right, for a 4 star. So overall, still very insane unit. So not much to say about her. Now on to Candace. So Candace is a very interesting unit because not only is her physical appearance extremely unique to the game, her kit is also very niche to the point where you don't really see much in the game. When you use her skill, it's very similar to Beidou's counter. When you use her elemental burst, she has Hydro Infusion to your active character. And I also believe she boosts normal attack damage in her burst. So overall, she is in a place right now where she doesn't really have much use for her niche, unfortunately. Whereas, you know, someone like who has a similar role in this niche, Yunjin, has a lot more flexibility with team compositions, whereas Candace, there really isn't too much because, you know, she only mainly restricts herself to Hydro Infusion. You could say that you could make anyone a Hydro DPS, but it's not like a Changyin situation where he has Cryo buff, for example, where she can enhance Cryo damage. If we do, for some reason, get like a Hydro damage buffer, like someone that enhance Hydro damage, maybe one day we could see that Candace plus the Hydro character, and then plus whoever, you know, you want to turn that DPS into a Hydro DPS. Who knows? But for now, I think the only thing that I remember is her constellations does make her better. Like the Hydro application is nice, but other than that, I feel like Candace, as of right now, she doesn't have too much of a spot. Unless you want someone, you know, to be dealing Hydro damage on field most of the times, which as of right now, there's already a lot of great Hydro characters. So that's why she's kind of like on the low side right now, because she has like way too many competitors for Hydro, and her role as of right now is just way too niche for what we have currently in the meta. As of right now, Candace is kind of a rare character to use. But hey, she's also new, so it's a free wish you can, you know, collect if you do manage to pick her up. And then for Kaveh himself, we don't have actually Kaveh's info. That's why, again, it was kind of weird that they dropped the banners before Kaveh. So we don't really know too much information about him. All I remember was from the live stream that they said was he's like a bloom trigger. Whenever he uses his elemental skill, he can trigger all the bloom seeds on field on command at once, instantaneously. So almost like Baizhu, but without pyro reaction in there. And his elemental burst creates Dendro Infusion, so kind of like an inspiration from Al-Haytham himself, kind of ironic. And the same idea where if you do cast his elemental skill, again, that combination of doing Dendro damage while being able to trigger bloom reactions. So overall, what do I think about this initially? It's going to be very fun to try out. However, I don't know if he's going to be a must-need type of Dendro character, because his niche is almost like a character that reminds me of someone that's modifying Dendro reactions, which is Nilou, where she also enhanced bloom reactions by adding bountiful cores. So will he be as good as Nilou? I don't know. It's really hard to say, but I feel like he has some sort of, you know, place in the game where, you know, if you want to have some fun with exploration, he looks fun to play. But in terms of meta, we're not sure yet. His information is not even out yet, so we don't even know what his, you know, talents exactly should do. But what I briefly discussed should be the whole gist of this kit. We just have to see officially once he comes out into the game And if you guys just absolutely cannot wait, then just wait for the first week of the launch of the new banners, because other content creators already have in-depth guides for the new characters. Overall, 4 stars, it's kind of weird. It's just really hard to justify to summon for any of these guys. It's probably Fischl, that's about it, but everybody else is really hard to say as of right now. Alright, now moving on to the 5 stars, which is we're going to be talking about Baizhu and Ganyu. So we're going to start off with Mr. Baizhu first. So we just briefly saw his kit in the previous video, where for those who missed out completely, I highly suggest you check out that video. TLDR, for those who completely missed out, he offers a healing skill, and when he uses elemental burst, he has a seamless interval trigger for his shield, so very similar to Thomasing. It triggers every 2.5 seconds and resets, and also heals while he uses the burst. So he's a defensive Dendro character, while also, they didn't really mention this in the website, but he also buffs like Dendro reactions too. Overall, he's more of a defensive utility for a Dendro support, and which is really good, because the more Dendro supports we have, especially the defensive ones, then the more for the non-Dendro element like Electro, Pyro, Hydro, whatever, those can be substituted for more of an offensive sub DPS slash support slash carry. You can keep swapping the roles out depending on what exactly you're trying to build for your team, and that's what Baizhu's purpose is, I feel. I think my only concern with Baizhu that I've kind of noticed is his Dendro application doesn't look that great. But if you have like Nahida and you are also planning to get Baizhu, then I feel like it's not going to be that big of a deal. And also you can always substitute with Dendro Traveler, which Dendro Traveler's off-field Dendro application is pretty solid. It's hard to say how strong Baizhu will be, but I feel like he's going to be, for his intended purpose, I think he's going to be a pretty good fit for any teams that need a Dendro Shielder slash healer. Alright, so on to the best girl, Ganyu. I was gonna make the video about Ganyu's, if should you pull for her. I think this video will come out right after this video, I guess. And basically, I'll just briefly say my thoughts on if she is even worth pulling for or not. Ganyu, she is worth pulling for those who lacks cryo DPS. I feel like for those who really are struggling for cryo damage dealers, then Ganyu is still like up there in terms of cryo DPS or overall DPS. She's a one-man army. She has an AoE charge attack, and her burst also just keeps on applying AoE crowd damage. Her skill is also a taunt, so you can just take away from distance and charge attack your enemies away. She also has very good team comps, her freeze comp and her melt team comps, so she has a place still in the meta. However, I will say I feel like she did kind of fall off a bit because of her rival, I would say, is Kamisato Ayaka. She does a lot of instant crowd damage, but overall Ganyu as like just a unit by herself is still great to have, because in terms of like what I said before, she's a one-man army. She can nearly one-shot most opponents in the game, and I mean a lot of them are nearly one-shottable from Ganyu, which also makes her great for exploration as well. So there's just a lot of pros about her, but just as of meta right now, she's kind of, I feel like, fallen off a bit. And now going on to the cons for why I wouldn't pull for Ganyu as of right now is because cryo's not really meta right now. For those who really does care about the meta, especially with where we're at currently, you can always get Ganyu later, because cryo as of right now in this update isn't the most important element as it was back then. Nowadays, if you've been noticing, or I guess for those who's been living under a rock, Dendro has been the dominant element for nearly all Spiral Abyss ever since Samara came out. And the reason why I also say cryo is not that relevant anymore, because cryo doesn't have any new involvement with the reactions unless you're doing the new Dendro burning reaction team composition with Ganyu. Then that's fair too, that also works. Or I guess Fridge team compositions too, but honestly, who actually uses that? Other than that, like, yeah, Ganyu is still, I would say, definitely an S tier unit, but her place as of right now, especially with the current meta standpoint, is not really needed. So I guess only reason to summon for her is if you absolutely need her, and obviously if you like her as well, then she's definitely a great pull to pull for. If not, then it's not the biggest deal if you end up missing out on her. And look, she'll always rerun it again anyway, so it's all good. Alright, so those are my take on the character banners, and now let's move on to the weapon banner. Alright, so here's a weapon banner. So it's okay, just briefly looking at it, it's not okay, it is kind of alright, I have some mixed emotions here, as you can tell from my reaction. So let's start off with the 4 stars, obviously first, right to left, and then we'll get into the 5 stars. Starting off with the new 4-star, still kind of like new, Makhaira Aquamarine Claymore. As for the stats, we got base attack at 510, elemental mastery is 165, and for the passive, the following effect will trigger every 10 seconds. The equipping character will gain 24% of their elemental mastery as a bonus attack for 12 seconds with nearby party members, gaining 30% of this buff for the same duration. Multiple instances of this weapon can allow this buff to stack. This effect will trigger even if the character is not on field. So already, this is obviously going going to be an elemental mastery user that wants to be using this, because the more elemental mastery is scaled from this claymore from the user, then it will transfer the attack to your nearby party members. So as of right now, I can only see one really good user that could use this, which is probably Sayu, if you're gonna go for like just a full-on EM build for Sayu. Other than that, I can't really think on anybody else that could really use that. Especially claymores, as of right now, I would argue it's probably the worst weapon type, because there's just not too many good claymore users out there that could really, especially use this type of passive effect. So overall, as a weapon, it's fine, it's solid, but it definitely could be better in the future with the more claymore characters they release along the way. Alright, up next we got the Wandering Evenstar Catalyst. Same stats, but for the passive, oh, it's actually the same as well. Yeah, so literally the same exact thing, except it's just a catalyst. So this time, what's the difference between the catalyst and the claymores? There's a lot of great catalyst users that could use this weapon versus the claymore users that could use that claymore. There's a lot more character options that could use this, especially with max refinement. This could actually be a pretty good weapon to use on for someone like Nahida or Sucrose, or anyone that scales with elemental mastery really well, that can, you know, take advantage of this, then to maximize the attack buff is really nice. So overall, yeah, solid weapon. I don't think it's anyone's best in the slot, but it is still a good option to use as a 4-star weapon, especially if you have like so many other catalysts that you need to spare for your other supports. Then there's always this one if you just so happen to have it in your inventory. Alright, so let's just briefly go through this. So Favonius Lance, you guys already know my thoughts on Favonius Lance. If not, just look at my old banner videos. It's really good still. Lion's Roar, it's kind of okay. It's just still like I guess an attack stat stick. The passive is kind of niche. I would say it's only like kind of usable on Kaching, or I guess Electric Charge, Vaporize, Ayato. And then for Sacrificial Bow, I could only say really that maybe 2 characters could really benefit from this, which is Diona. I really like Sacrificial Bow on Diona. It's really nice. And Yelan, which, you know, if you need the extra energy and the extra skill proc, then that's something. Now moving on to the 5-stars, we have Amos Bow and Jadefall Splendor. I'll just briefly talk about Amos Bow first, and won't go into the Jadefall Splendor. So Amos Bow, it's good on Ganyu. I believe it's still her best slot overall. However, on anybody else, it's not a great weapon. So it's kind of like one of those situations where, you know, Albedo's signature weapon, the 4-star events sword he has, it's basically that similar a concept where you only want that character to be using that weapon only. Amos Bow, I mean, it's not as bad as Albedo, however, it's just not the greatest on a lot of other characters. Most of the times in the 5-star bow rankings, Amos Bow tends to perform the lowest because of the stats it offers, which is just attack, and also the kind of the restrictive passive as well that it offers, which is, you know, the more distance you have for your charge attack, the more you'll deal, which only as of right now, the character that really can deal true charge attack damage is Ganyu. So Amos Bow is alright, but not the greatest, and probably not the one I would recommend to summon for. Another reason to not summon for this either is that Amos Bow is already available inside the standard banner, so you can always pull for this anytime in the standard banner. There's no reason you should even try to pull for here, unless I guess you're a completely new player and you're trying to max out Ganyu day 1, I guess. But even still, I would just like wait for that. And plus, Ganyu has a lot of other free-to-play bow options that she can use. As for the Jadefall Splendor, so I'm still not sure about this weapon personally, but let's go into the weapon details real quick, because I did break this down in my previous banners video. So here is the stats. It's all HP, and for the passive here, restores energy and elemental damage bonus for corresponding elemental type based on the max HP. So it's nice, but for someone like Baizhu who you want to be scaling with HP, I don't know if it's going to be that necessary to have, unless you really want, you know, more HP, a little bit of energy regeneration, and what, a little bit of damage, a little bit. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think this weapon is personally worth it for Baizhu, because, you know, there's already like a catalyst I could think of that has a similar passive effect and also is cheaper. It's free. It's a Prototype Ember. It's a 4-star weapon. It offers energy recharge as well as heals your party members. So extra healing even more so, although that's probably overkill because Baizhu probably heals a decent amount. But still, it does the same idea as this weapon here, which is already not necessarily needed, right? I don't think this catalyst is worth pull for at all. It might even be almost the same pull level as Kokomi's weapon. I just don't see any reason to pull for this. I think what would have been really cool instead is if they give like some sort of offensive stat, maybe like EM, crit, attack, although I don't think Baizhu scales with any of that at all. So this is his signature weapon, and if you just so happen to pull for, then I guess congratulations, you got Baizhu's weapon. But I feel like Baizhu's gonna have a lot of strong Catalyst weapon options, especially like what I said before. Catalyst is one of the best weapon types in the game, and there's just so many great Catalysts he could use, and this is not one of them. So, but honestly, that's my opinion. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe this could be insane, but I just personally think that there's just a better, cheaper option to go for. So obviously, as you can tell from the tone of my voice, I'm not really the biggest fan for the weapon banner. The 5 stars are just not that great to summon for, I guess, unless you really have Ganyu and Baizhu and you really need their weapons, although both of them already have like free-to-play options that you can substitute for instead. And the 4 stars, I mean, the 4 stars are actually, I would say the 4 stars are a little bit more appealing than the 5 stars. Like what I said before, my number 1 rule when it comes to summoning is to never summon for 4 stars, only summon for the 5 stars. And there you go, that rule applies. Okay, so my overall thoughts on the banners, it's not that great, I would say. Kind of unfortunate because this is Baizhu's and Kaveh's debut, and it's kind of awkward to summon on. Only if, you know, you're one of those people that already saved their premiums to summon for Baizhu, then that is perfectly fine. Get Baizhu and get it done with, you know? But other than that, for those who are just interested in just summoning in general, I would personally just save your primo gems. Go for something else. Wait until the live stream, especially since this is the second half of the patch. Wait until the second, especially since this is the second half of the patch, which means I would encourage to wait until the second last week of the patch, where they would broadcast the live stream for the next update and showcase whatever banners may be upcoming. Then from that point, I would consider, do I summon for the Baizhu banner or should I summon for whatever is coming next? Same rule, same idea. Yeah, so banners are not that great. It's kind of mid, if I'm being honest. That is my take on the banner. So if you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure you guys hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel for more Genshin content. And yeah, more is expected to come, and also other types of content too. Wink wink, nudge nudge. That is all I got. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, until next time, stay epic and peace out.